All right, everyone, this is part 2 of the video, which are the answers to the questions that I posted a few minutes ago. So, all right, I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible, but detailed as possible, because I know nobody wants to watch a long video. Okay, so the first question was, a 3-year-old child who has been potty trained since he was 18 months old began wetting his pants on a regular basis. This started right around the time his sister was born. The child is most likely utilizing which defense mechanism? The answer is C, regression. We know that it's not denial, because hopefully we know what denial means without even being social workers, and that clearly doesn't fit here. It's not repression, and it's not displacement. Regression is when you reach a certain level of development or maturity, and then you go back down a level for whatever reason. And in this case, it's because his sister was born. So he used to be potty trained since he was 18 months, but now he has a little sister who's a baby. So, you know, he may be a little bit jealous and wants to act like a baby again. And so that may be why this child is wetting his pants on a regular basis. So that is the answer that is most likely. That's the defense mechanism that the child is most likely using out of those options. Okay, question number 2. A client presents appearing extremely depressed and stating that she regularly feels hopeless and has thoughts about dying. The first thing the social worker should do is, and I'm using these questions with first and most likely and things like that because those were the questions on my exam when I took the exam. So it's important to know what to do first, next, best, last, and all that. But anyway, the answer for question number 2 is to perform a suicide assessment. Now, that is the correct answer. We'll talk about the other 3. Assess the client for major depressive disorder is not correct. Refer the client to her physician or admit her to a hospital. That is not the first thing that you would do. You want to see what's going on first, and then begin treatment immediately and continue to assess the client throughout the course of treatment. You don't want to do any of that first. You always want to assess the situation first. Assess, assess, assess. That's the first step that you need to do. When you meet with a client, if there's no emergencies or anything like that, you need to assess. So if the person has appeared depressed and stating that they feel helpless and has thoughts about dying, they didn't say they were going to kill themselves. They say they have thoughts about dying. So you want to perform a suicide assessment, which is answer number A. Answer A. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying not to make this a long video. But you know, you need to ask the client, you know, have you made a plan to kill yourself? How would you do it? Have you tried to kill yourself in the past? Like, you need to go through that list of questions and find out how serious the situation is. And then later down the line, you may be able to choose between those other 3 answers. But the first thing you should do is always assess the situation if there's no danger to the client. Okay. Question number 3, a social worker observes a mother punishing her toddler for throwing a temper tantrum in a department store by punching and slapping the toddler. The social worker should C, report the incident to the authorities. We as social workers are mandated reporters. If you see a person in a store punching and slapping their child, you are not a regular person. You are a social worker. You are a mandated reporter, even if you are not at work. Anywhere in life, if you're on the clock or off the clock, if you see anybody punishing their kid, beating them, slapping them, dragging them, you are mandated by law and can get in legal trouble if you do not report that you saw this happening. You need to know your intake number to your Department of Social Services or Department of Family and Children or whatever they call it in your state. You need to have that on speed dial, because if somebody finds out that you were around and you were a social worker and you didn't tell it, you could be in big trouble as a mandated reporter. So of course you're not going to ignore it. Of course, You're not going to approach the mother and encourage her to seek help, because if she's punching and slapping the child, obviously she has some issues and you don't need to be one of them. And then, of course, you're not going to talk to the toddler and encourage the toddler to tell her dad. That's just not, some of this stuff is just process of elimination. So the answer to number 3 is C, report the incident to the authorities. Okay, number 4, a client presents stating that her mother died a few weeks ago, and since that time, she has lost a significant amount of weight and cannot sleep at night. The client also states that she has been feeling dizzy and has been experiencing heart palpitations. The social worker should first, D, refer the client to her physician. And the reason for that is because anytime a client has medical issues, physical issues, you're not a doctor. You need to refer the client to medical personnel. So this client is having weight loss. They can't sleep at night, feeling dizzy, heart palpitations. All medical issues need to be cleared first. These other options for A, B, and C, those are things you can do after the client has been cleared of medical problems. Okay, so that's number 4. The answer was D. Number 5, a couple has been seeing a social worker who specializes in couples counseling for the past 8 months, during which time the wife dies in a car accident. The social worker should, D, continue therapy with the husband. You're not going to begin termination with the husband because you've been working with the client for a period of 8 months. That's a very long time. So just because his wife died, you don't want to terminate that client professional relationship, because that could add to the husband's, sense of loss and distress, and we don't want to do that. You don't want to terminate with the husband and refer him to a bereavement group. That is something that may be good at some point, but that's not the best answer to this question. Refer the husband to a therapist who specializes in bereavement counseling. Sometimes you can do these things in addition to continuing the therapy with the husband, but because you have that 8-month-long relationship with the husband as far as being his counselor, you need to continue that relationship if possible. So that's the best answer for number 5, which is D, continue therapy with the husband. All right, number 6. During therapy sessions, a client confides in you and tells you that he sexually abuses his daughter. The social worker should first, C, report this to the authorities. Okay, again, you are a mandated reporter. If the client tells you that he is sexually abusing his child, you report that immediately, because we know that that's not right. That's very wrong. Always, always, always make sure, especially when dealing with children, that safety is first. So if you report to the authorities, they're going to make sure that the child is removed, or whatever steps need to happen will happen once you report it to authorities. You won't be legally liable for it anymore because you made the report as a mandated reporter. You won't first explore the client's feelings about his actions. That's something that can happen way down the road, as far as, talking about his feelings and his actions and things like that. You're not going to notify the wife. She's not going to be able to do anything other than either call or not call and report it. And you're not going to first remove the child from the home, because social workers, contrary to popular belief, social workers and people who work for DSS, we do not remove kids from the home. We cannot do that. Only the police or a judge can remove children from the home. So that's not something that we have the power to do. Okay, question number 7. During a therapy session, a woman tells her social worker that she resents her child and is going to kill her. The social worker's first intervention should be A, have the child removed from the home. Again, the child's safety is always, always, always number 1. If a child is being harmed, beaten, neglected, is malnourished, a person is saying they're going to kill the child, always have the child removed from the home, or report, or do what needs to be done so the child can get to safety. So that's the answer to number 7A. Have the child removed from the home. You're not going to explore the client's feelings about her child first. That can happen later on down the road. Let's see. You're not going to tell the child, of course, what can the child do if the parent is saying they want to kill the child. And then refer the woman to her psychiatrist. That's not something that you would do first either. Okay? Question number 8. The woman calls her husband's social worker for an update on his condition. The woman has met the social worker several times, as she often goes with her husband to the social worker's office. The social worker should B, tell the wife that you cannot discuss her husband's treatment with her because of client confidentiality. Even though the wife has been and met you several times and may feel that she knows you and has a rapport and a relationship with you, all clients have the right to confidentiality, and we are not allowed to tell the client's parents, their kids, their spouse, or any other family member what is going on in these counseling sessions unless they sign a release of information, a consent form to disclose certain, information to family members. So it doesn't matter if the wife has been there and she's met you or not, and it doesn't matter that she is his wife. You cannot discuss anything with that wife as it relates to the client's treatment because of confidentiality. So you would not tell the wife that he is progressing and say no more. Again, that's none of her business as far as how, you can't tell her that. You can't ask her to set up an appointment. She's not your client. So that's that. Okay. Question number 9. A woman calls a social worker at a suicide hotline. The woman tells the social worker that she is thinking about killing herself. Which of the following should the social worker do first? That would be assess the client's situation. Letter B. So number 9 is letter B, assess the client's situation. You would not first call the police because the police needs to know what's going on. So you need to assess the situation first. The police may need to be called later on after you assess the situation. And if you determine that law enforcement needs to get involved, then that's fine. C was set up an appointment with the client to come in and see a social worker. You definitely would not do that first, because if a person is telling you that they're thinking about killing themselves, you don't want to set up an appointment for them to come in and talk to you, because between the time that they're going to get in the car and find out where you are and all that other stuff, they could lose all interest in that and actually kill themselves. So you need to assess the situation, and if it's determined that it's not a serious, legitimate threat that they're going to kill themselves, then you may at some point set up an appointment for the client to come in. But you always want to assess the situation first. And then you wouldn't first find out the name of it in case of an emergency contact. So you always want to assess the situation first. And finally, question number 10. An infant has been in the hospital for 6 days. Aside from the first day, the parents of the child have not visited. The social worker should first, C, contact the parents. It's been 6 days. It's an infant in the hospital. The parents haven't been there. You need to contact the parents first, because there may be a reason why they haven't come to visit the child. Maybe they don't have transportation. Maybe, there's a number of reasons that it could be. Even though the child is an infant and they haven't been in 6 days, you always want to contact the parent first, because, you don't want to arrange for foster care, which is answer number A, first, when there may be a legit reason why the parents haven't come in 6 days. You don't want to contact the infant's grandparents first, and then you don't want to arrange for a hospital volunteer to visit with the baby first either. Contact the parents, find out what's going on. If there's something sketchy, then you need to take necessary steps to handle the situation. So those are all the questions and answers. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment box if you would like any information on any specific topics, or if you want more questions and answers. Again, those questions and answers came from a book that a friend gave me. I don't have the name of the book, but those are not my questions that I made up. Those came from the book, and I have 150 questions. Those were just 10. So I do have more master's practice exam. All right, so again, those are not official questions that will be on the test. Those are just some practice example questions. It says these are not official ASWB test questions and have not been reviewed or approved by ASWB. Okay, so any questions, if I can help in any way, if the video is helpful, like it, subscribe, let me know. All right, see you next video.